Hey, it is Wednesday, July 13th. Kyle and I were just comparing the red on our fitness rings because we got barely any sleep last night because we spent the day in Atlanta, but we brought you all something home from the trip.
Everywhere I go, the people really want to know who I am.
We're not the kind of people that go away and come back and don't bring gifts.
No gifts, right?
It's one of the fun part when you're a parent and you bring little gifts home when you travel. So
I love doing that.
Yeah, we were in Atlanta yesterday. If you go back to our social media feed, you'll see some of that. Got to spend time with, one of our favorite people, Patrick Abad at Beaver Toyota, and just the space is inspiring. We'll talk about that in a second. We have an interview with Patrick that we're going to share with you in just a few minutes. Just saw the inflation. Let's start on an up note. Just saw the inflation numbers come out, 9.1%, which unfortunately means we're going to have to raise the price of this podcast.
Yes.
I think we've been holding off.
I think we're going to go 9.2% just to stay ahead of inflation. So for all of you,
be responsible.
Be
responsible. Oh man. Well, so we're back in the saddle. We had just literally single digit sleeps last night. Well, we always have single digit sleeps, but 2 and 3 hours of sleep because we got home late, and then the kids, and then the waking up and the slap in the face and all that thing. Parenting life is good. Don't let us detract from it because
without
it's very rewarding.
Look,
very rewarding.
The way that my kids ran at me this morning, after having been gone a day, that's worth all of the missed sleep that I got.
Absolutely.
It's like that. That big hug. It's a little bit longer, right? So yeah,
builds character.
It's really
builds character. We are just want to give a little update on ASOTU. Obviously, tickets are for sale. ASOTUCon.com. Yesterday, Patrick was like, "Hey, I had somebody call me out of nowhere. I haven't talked to forever. They have this big position somewhere, and they were like, hey, is this a ASOTUCon thing great? Because it looks really good. I'm buying a bunch of tickets. We're going." We've never heard of the person. We didn't even know they were in our community, but somehow they saw the ASOTUCon fire and they're coming too. So if that's you and you're listening to this morning, we can't wait to meet you. But people are buying tickets. You really should get your tickets sooner than later, because once we announce all the speakers this week and all the other fanfare, they're going to go much, much, much faster.
Yeah, we realize there's probably some people even listening to this podcast. They're just like, well, what are we actually going to be doing there? What's the actual timeline?
And that's fair.
We can say it with words on a podcast, but we're going to get all of that stuff up to the website, content, speakers, the whole 9 yards over the next 5 to 6 days. So you'll have a really clear picture of what is the content going to look like? Who's going to be speaking? Who's going to be involved? What people have already committed to come? So that'll be really good. And speaking of people that have committed to come,
stop. That was slow. Time.
No, we are really excited to have Dave Meltzer.
Yes,
which many of you may have seen on Clubhouse or LinkedIn, or even at our year-end extravaganza last year, or at our Vegas event. And just a really high-level business thought leader, understands the market environment, understands a retail mindset,
content
entrepreneurialism, all content, the whole 9 yards, right? And so actually, Paul, you're going to be on his LinkedIn Live today, just kind of talking about the event and what we're doing with ASOTU, right?
Yeah, yes. It's called Office Hours. Office Hours on LinkedIn Live at 11:15. It's at David Meltzer, Meltzer. Hope you join us. We're gonna pull Kyle up there, I'm pretty sure too. And we're gonna have a good time talking about that. His Office Hour show, by the way, is next level. You should see some of the guests he has on that show.
Right.
A little bit higher than our pay grade, which is why we're on Instagram Live, not Instagram.
There you go.
But we'll take it. We want to hit a couple news stories quick and get into the interview with Patrick, because whenever we can have you hear from a dealer, we know that that's kind of the most beneficial thing for all of us. And his perspective is one that I think we need to hear more often. But first, let's talk about a couple stories we may have missed because we were kind of on the run yesterday. What's this thing about BMW offering a seat subscription for heated seats? So BMW...
I was looking for the button.
I know.
This is what happens when you get 3 hours of sleep. We're like, it's right there.
I promise there's been no alcohol involved in the production of this podcast. We're just a little bit slow this morning.
Oh, man. Yeah,
BMW...
I saw all the comments. So basically $18 a month, and they'll unlock. There's going to be some hackers out there just reroute.
Hotwire that sucker.
Right? Basically hot wire on the software side of the system. But $18 a month, $180 a year, or $300 for 3 years, $415 for lifetime access
to keep your bum warm.
Heated seats.
keep your butt warm in the wintertime. So some places don't care. If you're in the Northeast, like, look, I used to be like heated seats, but living in the Northeast in the wintertime now, it's like the heated seats are pretty awesome. So, this is kind of a little
ridiculous.
taste. No, look, I thought it was ridiculous for the remote start in my Kia, right? That was ridiculous. The heated seats are next level. Like, talk about feeling like you're going to get nickel and dimed. I think it just makes a terrible customer experience. Feeling like now, like
you can buy a full set of aftermarket heated seats for your front 2 seats, have them installed and everything for $415 aftermarket. And a lot of times they go up the back, right? Like,
I know. Maybe they're gonna try to add value into some packages and include the subscription, right, as like a giveaway. The takeaway, it was the telling it like we see it in our email. So if you don't have the email, go to ASOTU.com, get on the email list because we pump this stuff out every day. And here's what the telling it like it is. That building cars with features that may never even be turned on during a chip shortage seems like a really strange plan, right? Let's put chips in the cars for features that may not even ever turn on, and we'll just make less cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
hey, I know we're running out of these chips, but we're going to put them in
case someone wants to rent it.
They'll just sit there.
They can rent it on a monthly basis. All right, we got to move on so we get the Patrick's interview. Another one, this is an article in Barron's. So Barron's a source that we'll probably start looking at more often. We don't cite too often, but Barron's very high-level economic view, taking a broad look. So when they focus on automotive, we lean in and pay a little bit of attention. So they talk about this rising rate, very quick rising rate of repossessions happening, and that being an indicator of what might be to come as far as people having gotten in over their head in their payments. Lucky Lopez is a car dealer who's been in the business for 20 years. First of all, the name Lucky Lopez. If that ain't a car dealer name,
that ain't a car guy.
That ain't a car guy, right? His parents were car guys. You name your kid Lucky?
Without a doubt.
Your parents were car peeps. So he goes to auctions and bids on repossessed cars, and he noticed some common characteristic on defaulted loans, and that's most of the recently repossessed cars originated in 2020 and 2021, when typically speaking, repos would have a whole range of loan origination dates. And so really this is indicative of people having more money. And what did it say? It says part of the problem is consumers' income were temporarily high as the pandemic brought about debt forbearance, pandemic stimulus checks, PPP, the whole thing. And I guess people, just kind of assumed the gravy train wasn't going to end, and they just bought cars they could not afford.
Yeah. I approach an article like this with some hesitancy, well, because you'll hear this in our interview with Patrick, like there are some people that the gravy train ain't slowing down, so I approach it with some hesitancy, but we've been talking about affordability, and the reality is that the last 2 years has been a lesson in how to approach affordability and whether or not we can continue at the pace that we have been continuing in the retail market. And so early indicators like this are definitely things to be aware of, not just for, what consumers are doing with past purchases, but what consumers are doing with current purchases like today, right?
Yes. Yeah. One final note from the article, Pamela Fooey, the F-O-O-H-E-Y.
You got Lucky Lopez
and Pamela Fooey, law professor at Cardozo School of Law at Yeshiva University. That is a very important sounding law university. Well, never heard of it before. Yes. She warned in 2021 of an auto loan crisis. She said then that they were heading into the pandemic. Auto loans outstanding were at record levels already, and auto loan delinquencies were hitting new highs every quarter. And she said back then she thought the bubble was about to burst, and then the pandemic hit and short-circuited all that. So just another source that we don't usually talk about, but car loan repossession is kind of an early indicator of like, hey, maybe people are starting to have trouble paying these loans. Let's wrap that around into this conversation we had with Patrick, because when Patrick, we talk about, the recession, and we hear the talk all the time. It's in the news this morning. He's got a perspective on it that I think a lot of car people, a lot of dealers and people in the industry are starting to adopt, thanks to some people speaking some levity into the situation, like Jonathan Smoke from Cox Automotive saying, whoa. It's very popular to talk about it. It's everywhere. But let's look at the situation for what it actually is and then be a little bit prepared. So here we go. We're going to roll our interview with Patrick yesterday, and then we'll come up and we'll close you out with a little high five. We're going to sleep for 10 minutes.
All right, we are sitting here at Beaver Toyota, Cumming, Georgia, just north of Atlanta, hanging out with Patrick Abad, good friend of ours. He's been so gracious to let us hang out with his store today and just see what his team is doing and hear from that. And, we were having this conversation earlier a little bit and just kind of want to get a little bit more feedback from you that obviously there's a lot of talk about EVs and agency model and recession looming and everything coming in from market forces, and really hearing that a lot of dealers maybe aren't exactly feeling that within their walls, either in their business, and there's some things that publics are saying or OEMs are saying, and then what dealers are saying. And so what are you doing or what are you feeling or hearing within your store with that from like outside looking in, but also what's happening on the ground level with you and others that are in your seat?
Well, I would say on the ground level, I think you got to control the mindset a little bit. We say it all the time in this dealership. We have our bubble. Let's protect it. And being aware of what's going on outside the bubble is important, but the mindset in the bubble is more important. And like we use an example, used cars is a perfect example. 30,000 used cars are sold in Georgia every single month. Do I really care if that goes down to 18? As long as I get my 400 or 500. Right? That's the mindset that you have to have. And you got to have, obviously, the policies, the procedures, the processes, and the mindset to back that. But that is going to be our philosophy through this is like, it doesn't matter what happens outside here. It only matters what happens inside here. And I think if most dealers take that philosophy, they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, and what do you, I guess, because you're talking to customers every single day, what's the sentiment on, engaging with your business, on, looking for cars and, shortage of inventory and prices and stuff like that? What's the real consumer sentiment from the ground level? Not the surveys, not the Gallup polls, anything like that. How are customers working within your business?
Truly, there hasn't been much of a shift other than the rate increases. I think that is the only one that we're really hearing the talk from the consumers is the rate increases. But at the end of the day, the majority of our customers finance, right? 80% of them finance. So they care about what comes out of their pocket today and what comes out every single month. That's it. So as long as you can control that, I think you're aligning with where the customers are at.
Yeah, that's awesome. Paul, we talk a lot about just how, you said the bubble inside and outside, that a general awareness of the market is really important for everybody, right? But that controlling what you can control. And, I think that a lot of what we talk to dealers about, right, is this, what are the controllables? What are the things that you can do right now to make sure that your business is sound and safe? And, Brian Benstock and David Spizak are like, they're probably not the first ones to say it, but they say it a lot.
So they might
know
be
phrase,
the first ones
right?
to say it.
Right? But the phrase is that, fix the roof while the sun is shining. It's a beautiful day actually here. So it's
very nice.
The right day to say that. But, fixing the roof while the sun is shining, there's still a lot of sunlight in the out there. And so continuing to fix the roof and make sure that processes and inventory and all those things that you were talking about are dialed in is super important.
Well, there are a lot of things, like one of the things we love is that we get to travel, we get to see a lot of stores, we get to see a lot of dealerships, meet a lot of people. You by far have one of the most unique places in the retail automotive industry I've ever seen, and everyone says they have an awesome spot, but you have some features in this building that I have never seen anywhere else, and it's really driven by your mindset for consumer experience. Can you talk about some of the unique decisions you've made in this building, including the one you showed us a little bit earlier today, and why you think that is important for a retail experience?
Well, and the reality is it started with Mr. and Mrs. Beaver's vision for what they wanted to provide for the consumer and for their employees, right? So this building is like, it's not just built for consumers. A lot of people go so heavy on consumers, but it's also built for employees, right? We have a full gym upstairs, right? Everything from Pelotons to free weights to machines that our employees can use anytime. There's showers upstairs. There's a laundry room upstairs for our employees, and then you have the consumer side, right? We have 2 massage rooms that are for our consumers. Then as you saw, we took a conference room that was like not being used, and it's like, okay, we use this conference room once every couple of weeks. What can we do better for it? Well, let's put a hair salon in
That's
it, right?
obviously the next choice.
Yes. I mean, listen, you need a magician, an artist for this, right?
And you're bringing in someone who you're not running it. You're bringing in someone who knows how to run this.
It's just like our restaurant. We have a full-blown restaurant down here that's an outside company that's in here, and the same thing with the salon. It'll be somebody's personal business inside our business. Now, the only caveat to being inside our business is they have to provide world-class service and a world-class product.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you're also one of the only auto dealers. I wonder if you're the only retail auto dealer that has a liquor license.
He's not. He's not. I actually know of is it a Lexus store, I believe, that like they have a liquor license and they have people that intentionally go like post work to do that. So I'm sorry you're not the first, but I think you're going to do it in a unique way where you're actually going to host things like watch parties, right?
Oh yeah. When you look at outside, we have the fire pit outside with a big TV. I mean, you're talking about college football games out there. You can come here, you can have a burger, which is we call a badass burger, right? You can have a badass burger, right? You can have a beer. You can watch a football game and you get your hair cut, right? And it's like, oh, it's a car dealership. What do you need all that crap for? What do I need an empty conference room for?
Right.
Right.
You have to see
so,
this place.
Yeah, it's cool. It's super cool.
Okay, so a lot of people might look at that and say, yeah, I don't think I can talk my dealer into putting in a salon or getting a liquor license. But all these decisions are kind of like driven by a similar philosophy. What would you say to dealers who maybe can't make that kind of investment or don't have the space or don't have the support to do that? How would you encourage them to take a step in the direction?
Well, I think it's really just staying connected to your community. I really do. I think, if people can come here and you have the best burger in town, right? Like, where do you want to eat? I really want that burger at Beaver, right? And I can, you have a world-class product upstairs when the salon opens of you need a haircut, right? I got to go get my haircut. I'm going to Beaver. It's staying connected to the community. And you don't need a salon and you don't need a restaurant to do that, right? You could do things like let your conference room be used by the police department so they can have their meetings there, or the principals in your local county.
You do that too.
We do that too, yes. But those are things that keep you connected to the community that people just they forget. Like when you have a successful business, you have a responsibility to be good to the community, because it is that community that makes you successful. And I think a lot of times, and those things, letting them use your conference room, buy them breakfast, and you'll look like a hero.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, you've paid a lot of attention to consumer experience, because when you were in a dealership, you did what you could with what you had, right? What are some of the similarities that you see in the way Patrick approaches consumer experience as you did when you were at Mazda?
Well, yeah. So, and we didn't have that massive space. Mazda
That's
showrooms are a lot smaller,
You had a limited
right?
budget.
Yep.
You had to do a lot with a little.
Well, we were intentional about the coffee, right? Like we made sure
That's
the
a big
coffee
surprise if
machine
you know Kyle.
was right.
You were just making sure it was right for you, but we'll pretend it was for everybody.
No,
else.
I mean we put in a lot of intentionality around. There was actually we took a team mentality to stocking everything, right? So there was a goal to never ever have to have a customer ask us like, hey, are there straws or is there coffee or anything like that? So it was a team mentality to make sure that the water, everything was stocked. So it was always a focus. The other thing that we did is we built the showrooms with a very community atmosphere in mind, and we worked with Mazda actually to do this. And it wasn't actually a ton that I did, but I know that the leadership that was in our stores working with the architects was really about how do we create an energy in the store. So we knew that if there was laughter happening, so we had open showrooms with open sales towers, and it was something that actually our customers said a lot, was like, I came in and it just seemed like everyone was being friendly and everyone was laughing together, and there was just something about the environment. And so we were intentional about how do we create that, how do we create this kind of like every touch point has an energy about it. And so I think that's something that people can really do is how do you remove the barriers, make sure that there's not, things that you can't see over, places you can't go, so that there is always an energy about the retail environment. The more you can do that, then I think what you do is you create the opportunity for people to say yes more often, actually, to being there.
So this is the kind of stuff like when we branch into hospitality and retail, right? When I look at this store, I think hospitality and retail, right? Not car dealership. We're going to be talking about a lot of things in this vein at ASOTU, and I think you're going to be there. You going?
I'm going. I wouldn't miss it. Listen, chance to hang out with some of the brightest minds in this business. No, but seriously, that ASOTU, I'm super pumped just to hear some of the names that are going to be there. It's going to be an experience that I think I've been wanting to go to and be part of. So I'm super pumped. When is that? September 11th through 13th. Awesome.
Yeah, and we were talking about it today. From the schedule perspective, we're going to start at 5:30 on Sunday night, so you can make a nice 10 take your time, get there on Sunday, and then Tuesday will be done by noon, 12:30. So you can take that afternoon flight, get home Tuesday, be in your own bed, or be even back at the store if you need to. For some people on the East Coast, so it'll be a high energy, high intensity, short time, but it'll be really focused and really intentional about what do we do about connecting the retail side of our industry to the way a lot of other retailers think. And so we'll be taking practices from outside and inside of the automotive industry on that. So Patrick, thanks for hanging out with us today. You've been a friend since Clubhouse and a mentor, but also a business confidant and friend. So really appreciate you.
Thanks for coming. I mean, listen, I love when you guys walk in the building, and you guys alone just bring a cool energy that my people love, and I think it's fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, sounds good. I'm sure we'll see you soon, and we'll throw it back to us actually live. So.
I like it how we threw it back to ourselves. Oh my goodness. Oh, hold on, Kyle. I can't hear you. You're still muted. You're still muted. There you go. You're back in. You're back in. It's okay. It's fun to throw it back to yourself. Back to us in the studio tomorrow morning after 3 hours of sleep. We got this.
No, I was just enjoying listening to Patrick, because sometimes when you're in an interview, like you're listening,
I did the same exact thing.
Yeah, and you're like, I know what you're saying because I have to engage in this interview. But then when you listen back, you're like, oh man, that was some really good stuff. Okay, I'm
better than I remember. I thought it was good, but I was like, oh, this is great, actually. Yeah. All right, well, thank you for hanging with us today. You know, we're trying to bring you more and more angles on everything that's going on. We're trying to bring you more and more in-store interviews, talking to dealers, getting our hands in the dirt, right? Because that's what the ASOTU community is about. It's not just telling you the news. It's not just, bringing you a little this and little that. It's actually hands in the dirt, bringing it all together as it's relevant. So obviously we're going to keep doing that. We have new podcasts coming. We have, oh gosh, there's going to be hundreds of pieces of content on the way as we start making content with all our speakers over the next 60 days. So what you just saw there's a lot more of that coming. Get your tickets at ASOTUCon.com, or just subscribe to the email at ASOTU.com so you can get more of these insights. Thanks for spending time. Even though we're tired, we got a lot of work to do. We're on the grind, baby.